Feels like somebody who ran hot when it suited them, went cold when things got too real, made the bond feel unstable, and is now discovering that distance does not always create freedom. Sometimes it creates obsession, sometimes it creates panic. Sometimes it forces a person to watch the very heart they mishandled become the one thing they cannot stop craving. And that is exactly what is happening here. The first image I'm getting is somebody pacing their own inner house. Room to room, thought to thought, memory to memory. They are irritated with themselves, irritated with the silence, irritated that your energy still gets under their skin this deeply. I feel like this person wanted the connection on their own terms before, passion without the deeper emotional steadiness that real love requires, but now the whole arrangement they tried to control is turning on them. The first card rising here is the Five of Pentacles, and wow, this tells me they feel shut out, left in the cold. Not necessarily because you did something cruel, but because they are finally tasting what it feels like when your warmth is no longer just sitting there for them to reach whenever they please. They got used to the emotional supply. And now that the energy has shifted, they are scrambling inside, right? Beside that, I'm seeing the Knight of Wands in reverse. That is such a direct sign of somebody whose inconsistency is part of the problem. They ran on impulse, desire, mood, timing, ego. When they felt the connection strongly, they moved closer. When they felt exposed, overwhelmed, or emotionally cornered, they backed away, changed tone, went missing, or acted like none of it was serious. So yes, this reading is absolutely confirming the title. This hot and cold person is losing it over you now, but the but is important. The but is the whole lesson. They want you back. But they are also being forced to face the exact patterns that made the connection painful. I keep hearing one sentence very clearly. I thought I could come and go and still be the one they wanted. That line lands hard. Because it tells me this person misjudged your worth. Not in the sense that they did not know you were valuable, they knew. But they underestimated what would happen when you started pulling your energy back. They underestimated how deeply they relied on your emotional availability. They underestimated how loud your absence would become once you were no longer feeding the bond the same way. The energy around you feels like the Queen of Swords. Your field has changed, sharper, clearer, less willing to romanticize crumbs, less willing to excuse instability just because the attraction is strong. This person can feel that change even if you have not made some giant dramatic announcement about it. They feel it in the way the bond does not bend around them the same way it used to. That is unnerving them. Another thing coming through strongly is jealousy. Not always the loud kind. Curiosity that is way too intense, checking energy from a distance, wondering who is near you now, who gets your time now, who gets the version of you they assumed would always be emotionally reachable. They do not like the idea that your heart could become unavailable to them for real attachment. The panic that comes when somebody realizes they do not have the same emotional hold they once assumed they had. They want you back, yes, but Spirit keeps showing me that part of what is driving them wild is that they can no longer predict you. They cannot control the emotional climate the way they used to. And there it is, the but. They want you back, but they have not fully become safe yet. They miss you. But some of what they miss is how much access they had. They are aching, but they are also being confronted with the selfishness that helped create this ache in the first place. The final card I'm seeing here is Judgment, which tells me this person is in a reckoning, a real one. The kind where their own choices echo back at them. They are being woken up by loss of access, by your changed energy, by the emotional consequences of not showing up properly when they had the chance. So the deepest message opening this reading is this. Yes, this selfish, hot and cold person is losing it over you. They want you back. They are emotionally spinning. They are more affected than they would ever comfortably admit. But what happens next depends on whether they only want relief from missing you, or whether they are actually ready to transform the very behavior that made the bond unstable. Because wanting you back is one thing, being able to hold you, right, is another, and Spirit is saying very clearly. That is the real test now. And that truth is pressing on them harder. Now, every day, the next layer of this is not soft at all. It feels like somebody gripping their own phone, tossing it down, picking it back up, telling themselves they are done. then checking your energy again 5 minutes later. That is the mood here. Because what I'm getting now is not only longing, it is agitation, restlessness, possessiveness mixed with regret. This person wants you back, yes, but they are also wrestling with the fact that they created conditions that made your heart step back. And that is where the unraveling comes from. They cannot soothe themselves with the old story anymore. The first card stepping forward is the devil in reverse. And wow, this tells me they are face to face with their own unhealthy patterning. The push-pull, the selfish timing. The way they wanted emotional access without real accountability. I feel like this person may have gotten used to coming close when they felt lonely, lit up, or desirous, and then cooling off when depth, consistency, or vulnerability were required. But now the bond is showing them the bill for that behavior. They do not like what they are seeing. I keep hearing one sentence very clearly. I didn't think they would really pull away. That lands hard, because it tells me they assumed your care would stay available. They assumed the thread would remain there no matter how many times they tugged too hard, disappeared, reappeared, or acted like their confusion was your responsibility to absorb. But Spirit is showing me that your energy has changed, and that change is what is throwing them into this emotional storm. The energy around you feels like the Nine of Pentacles, gorgeous, self-contained, more anchored in your own worth than before. I feel like this person can sense that you are no longer waiting in the same way, no longer bending around their inconsistency in the same way. There is a stronger perimeter around your peace now, and instead of inspiring them at first, I think it scared them. Because suddenly they had to confront the fact that you can continue blooming without their approval, attention, or occasional bursts of heat. Another thing coming through strongly is wounded pride. Not only heartbreak pride. This person may be deeply bothered that they no longer know how much influence they have over your heart. They may feel your distance, your restraint, your changed tone, or even just your calmer energy, and it unsettles them more than they want to admit. They are used to having some emotional door open. Now they are not so sure, and that uncertainty is eating them alive. The next card I'm seeing is the Five of Wands, inner conflict. Emotional chaos, competing impulses. One side of them wants to rush in, reclaim space, say something dramatic, break the distance. Another side is still defensive, still proud, still irritated that they are the one feeling out of control now. That is the but in this reading. They want you back, but part of them is still fighting the ego death required to come back correctly. I keep hearing this too. They want reunion without full surrender. And that matters because Spirit is making a distinction here. Wanting you is real. Missing you is real. Losing it over your shifted energy is absolutely real. But being ready to own every part of what they did, every inconsistency they normalized, every moment they expected you to carry the bond alone, that part is still in process. The card around their heart is the Four of Cups in reverse, which tells me they are waking up slowly, painfully, undeniably. They are starting to realize you were not just another connection they could leave in emotional limbo. You were a gift. A rare heart, a living chance, and the thought that they may have damaged that through carelessness is cutting much deeper now. So the message in this wave is this. They are unraveling because your energy is no longer giving them the same easy access. And for the first time, they are being forced to sit with what their selfishness and inconsistency actually cost. They want you back, yes. But the deeper question is whether they are willing to return with humility instead of hunger alone. Because if they only come back desperate to soothe themselves, nothing changes. If they come back changed, everything does. And Spirit keeps whispering one last thing here. Your distance is not punishing them. It is revealing them. It is showing them whether what they feel is strong enough to become accountable, strong enough to become honest, strong enough to stop running hot and cold and finally learn how to stay. That is what they are wrestling with now. Not whether they want you, whether they are capable of deserving the version of you that no longer settles for confusion. And tonight, that question is pressing on them like fire under skin because they can feel, maybe for the first time, that losing your softness is not a game. It is the consequence of being careless with something sacred, indeed. There is another layer opening here, and it feels like somebody who keeps telling themselves they are in control while everything inside them is proving the opposite. Their pride says one thing, their chest says another. Their habits are still trying to protect them. But the truth is pressing harder now. They are not just thinking about you. They are reacting to the fact that your energy is no longer waiting in the same place, in the same way, at the same temperature. The first card stepping forward is the moon. Hidden feelings, hidden panic, hidden jealousy, hidden realization. This person may still be acting confusing on the outside, but inwardly there is much more emotion than they are comfortable admitting. I feel them wondering who has your attention now, what you are feeling now, whether you still care, whether you are done, whether someone else is stepping into the emotional space they assumed would always be theirs to revisit. That thought is shaking them badly. I keep hearing something clearly. What if I push them too far this time? That line says everything, because this is where the unraveling deepens. It is not just that they miss you, it is that they are beginning to understand your withdrawal might be real. Your boundaries might be real. Your peace might become more important to you than their occasional return. And once that possibility becomes real in the mind of someone who has been careless, all the hidden attachment comes roaring to the surface. The energy around you feels like strength, not loud, not dramatic, strong in that calm way that changes the whole room. I feel like you are not chasing, not begging, not twisting yourself into emotional knots to prove what you feel, and that steadiness is confronting this person more than tears ever could. They can feel your self-respect. They can feel that you are no longer available for the same unstable rhythm. That is part of why they are losing it. They are no longer managing the story. They are being made to face it. Then I'm seeing the Six of Wands in reverse. This is wounded ego, the sting of not being able to charm their way back in so easily. The discomfort of feeling less certain about their place in your heart. The bruising of realizing that attraction alone, chemistry alone, and emotional intensity alone may not be enough to win back someone who has become clearer about what they deserve. This person may hate how much this is affecting them. They may even feel embarrassed by the depth of their own reaction. Another message keeps rising strongly. They want you back, but they do not want to feel this exposed. That matters because this is the tension. They are longing, they are restless, they are replaying, they are feeling the absence intensely. But they are also being dragged into vulnerability, and that is not a space they have handled well before. So part of them wants to come rushing in, while another part still resists the humility required to do it in a way that would actually heal something. The next card I'm seeing is the Seven of Pentacles, waiting. Watching, measuring, I feel like this person is taking your emotional temperature from afar. Looking for signs, wondering whether there is still an opening, wondering if they have one more chance. But Spirit is showing me that the old strategy of waiting for the perfect moment may not work this time, because the heart is becoming too loud for patience to keep covering it. And then the final card here is the Page of Cups, which is beautiful because underneath all the immaturity, all the ego static, all the hot and cold behavior, there is a softer truth trying to come through. There is apology, there is missing you, there is the wish to say, I know I handled this badly, but I still care. So the message in this next wave is this person is losing it because your changed energy is forcing them to confront their own fear, selfishness, and emotional inconsistency. They want you back, yes, but now they are being tested. Will they return with honesty or just hunger? And Spirit keeps whispering one last thing here. This is no longer about whether they feel enough, they do. This is about whether feeling will finally become character, whether missing you will become courage, whether desire will become accountability. Because if they do not change the pattern, they do not get to keep the person. And deep down, they know that now. And that is the real storm here. Not only wanting you, but realizing you may never again make yourself easy to reach. They can feel the door narrowing. They can feel your standards rising. They can feel that this time charm without change will fail. That is why the heat in them feels mixed with fear. They know the next move cannot be half real. If they come, it has to be with substance, not just sparks. And that realization is shaking ego loose tonight. There is another turn in the spiral now, and it feels like somebody standing in front of their own reflection, no longer able to blame timing, mood, confusion, or bad luck. For what went wrong, they are beginning to see the pattern with painful clarity. Not just that they miss you, not just that they want you back, but that the very way they handled you is the reason your energy stopped waiting for them in the same way. The first card opening here is Justice. And wow, this is not gentle. This is the moment consequences become personal. The moment a person feels what their own inconsistency created. I feel this selfish, hot and cold person is being pulled into a truth they would have preferred to avoid. They did not only hurt you, confuse you, or push you away at times, they also trained you not to trust the warmth when it returned. That realization is cutting deeply now. I keep hearing something very clearly. They finally understand why you stopped reaching. That line lands hard. Because for a long time, I think they may have been telling themselves a smaller story. Maybe they thought you were overreacting. Maybe they thought the bond was strong enough to survive whatever version of them showed up. But now that illusion is breaking. They are seeing that your heart responded exactly as a heart does when it has been fed uncertainty too many times. The energy around you feels like the hermit you may be quieter now. More inward, less available for emotional chaos. Less interested in explaining what should already be obvious. There is dignity in your distance. I feel like you are not trying to punish this person. You are simply no longer abandoning yourself to make their confusion easier to tolerate. And that shift is louder than any argument could ever be. They can feel the difference. Then I'm seeing the Four of Cups, restlessness, regret. The sensation of having let something meaningful slip into emotional starvation. This person may be looking around at everything else in their life and still feeling no real satisfaction, because the one thing they want back is not just attention, it is your specific energy, your softness, your response, your way of making the connection feel alive. Without that, nothing fully lands the same. Another message keeps rising strongly. They are angry at themselves, but they still want you to make it easier. That matters. Because here is the but again, they want you back. They miss you. They are unraveling. But part of them still wishes you would reopen the door before they have fully earned it. Part of them still wants relief before complete accountability. The next card I'm seeing is Death, and this is actually powerful in a good way because it tells me something old is dying here. An old tactic, an old emotional mask, an old way of keeping one foot in and one foot out. Spirit keeps showing me that this person cannot get you back through the same version of themselves that helped lose your trust. That version is being cornered now, pressured, stripped. Whether they like it or not, transformation has entered the room. And then the Two of Cups appears beautiful, aching, impossible, because despite all the mess, the connection itself is still alive. That is why this hurts them so much. If this were shallow, they could distract themselves and move on. But this is not shallow. They feel the bond. They know the pull. They know something real lives here. They are not only facing loss, they are facing the possibility of losing something rare because they mishandled what was real. So the message in this next wave is this hot and cold person is losing it over you because your withdrawal forced them into an honest reckoning. They want you back, yes, but they are being pushed to understand that wanting is not the same as being ready. Missing you is not the same as repairing the damage. Loving you is not the same as knowing how to hold you well. And Spirit keeps whispering one last thing here. The lesson is no longer optional. Now, if they want your heart again, they cannot come back as a storm asking for shelter. They have to come back as someone who knows how to build a roof. That is the shift. That is the challenge. That is why this whole situation feels so raw for them. Because the love is real, but now the standard is real too. And deep down, they know you are no longer asking for chemistry. You are asking for consistency, for truth, for emotional safety, for behavior that does not make your nervous system pay the price for their inner chaos. That is what is haunting them tonight. Not only the thought of losing you, but the realization that getting you back would require them to become better than the version of themselves that thought passion could cover instability. And for once, they know you are right to expect that. That truth is alive in them tonight, very real. There is a sharper edge to the energy now, like somebody finally realizing that wanting you is one thing, but being able to face you, answer for themselves, and stand there without the old tricks is something else entirely. Because what I'm getting here is that this person is no longer only missing you in some dramatic emotional way. They are being forced to understand the difference between craving your presence and earning your trust again. That is why the pressure around them feels so intense. The heart is pulling them towards you, but the truth is standing in the doorway saying, not like before. The first card stepping forward is the Seven of Swords in reverse. And wow, this tells me hiding is getting harder. Dodging is getting harder. Pretending they can just slide back in with charm, chemistry, or one emotional message and have everything soften instantly. That illusion is cracking. Spirit is showing me that this person knows somewhere deep down that the old game is over. They cannot be slippery with you now. They cannot stay half available, half honest, half present, and expect your heart to respond the same way. I keep hearing something very clearly. They know you can see through them now. That line lands deeply because your energy has changed. Your discernment has sharpened. Your heart may still care, but it is no longer naive about inconsistency. And that terrifies them more than they want to admit. The energy around you feels like the Queen of Pentacles, grounded, self-possessed, less interested in being swept up by unstable passion, more interested in what can actually hold. I feel like this person can sense that you are no longer available for emotional confusion dressed up as intensity. You still have warmth, yes, but it is protected now. It is wiser now. And that wiser version of you is forcing a deeper crisis in them than simple rejection ever could. Then I'm seeing the Five of Cups in reverse. And this is important because it says a part of them really does want to repair, not just possess, not just re-enter. Repair, they may be slowly moving out of the self-pity stage and into the realization that if they truly want another chance, they have to do more than ache. They have to acknowledge, they have to own, they have to make a different offering than the one they made before. Another message keeps rising strongly. They want your softness back, but they know they wounded it. That one hurts. Because I do feel this person misses the way you were with them, the openness, the emotional access, the warmth that once came more naturally. But now they understand that your softness was not infinite just because it was generous. They treated something precious, like it would always be there. And the grief of that realization is part of what is unraveling them now. The next card I'm seeing is the Knight of Cups in reverse. This is such a strong sign that apology alone will not be enough. Sweet words alone will not be enough. A vulnerable mood alone will not be enough. Spirit keeps saying the but in this reading is here because the heart wants you back, but the pattern is still being tested. Their feelings are real. Their missing is real, their regret is real, but can they be consistent when the emotional weather changes? That is the question still hanging in the field. And then the final card stepping forward is the Eight of Cups in reverse, which tells me they cannot walk away emotionally. They have tried, they have circled, they have gone hot, then cold, then distant, then restless again. But the connection keeps pulling them back to the same uncomfortable truth. You matter too much for the old pattern to keep working. So the message in this next wave is this selfish, hot and cold person is losing it over you because they can feel that your heart is no longer reachable through confusion. And for the first time, they are being forced to reckon with what real repair would require. They want you back. Yes, but now they know wanting is not enough. They would have to come cleaner, straighter, more accountable, more real. And Spirit keeps whispering one last thing here. This is no longer a situation where they get to ask, do I miss them enough to return? Now, the real question is, can I return as someone different from the person who made them leave themselves behind? That is what is breaking them open. Because for once, they know your love is not begging for the same version of them. It is waiting to see whether one even exists that can finally do better. And tonight, that truth is sitting in their chest like fire. They are beginning to understand that desire without discipline only repeats the wound. So if they come forward now, it cannot be with heat alone. It has to be with steadier hands, clearer eyes, and a heart willing to stay present after the first emotional storm passes. There is a final turn in this energy now, and it feels like somebody standing in the ashes of their own old behavior, realizing that missing you has stopped being a mood and become a mirror. Because what I'm getting here more than anything is that this person can no longer separate their pain from their pattern. They want you back. Yes, they are restless, haunted, emotionally thrown off. Absolutely. But now the truth is brighter than ever. If they come towards you carrying the same old temperature swings, the same old self-protection, the same old selfish timing, they will lose you again. And this time they know it. The first card stepping forward is judgment. And wow, this is a reckoning. Not just heartbreak, not just desire reckoning. Spirit is showing me a person who is finally being called into a level of honesty they avoided before. They know the old version of them cannot be the one who returns and expects your heart to open. That version took too much for granted. That version ran on hunger and ego, then disappeared into coldness when accountability was required. That version is what this whole situation is burning down. I keep hearing something very clearly. I can't ask for them back and still be the same. That line is the heart of the whole reading because it tells me this person is at the edge of a real choice now. Not do I want them? They already do. Not do I miss them? They absolutely do. The real choice is, will I let this pain change me, or will I keep repeating myself until I lose what I love for good? The energy around you feels like the star, calm, untouchable in the best way, clearer than before. Your light is not chasing them. Your peace is not bending toward chaos. And that is exactly why the lesson is working, because your energy now reflects possibility. Yes, but only the kind that can survive honesty. You are not closing the door in bitterness. You are simply no longer holding it open for confusion. They can feel that deeply. Then I'm seeing the King of Cups. This is important because it tells me there is a more mature feeling in them